Greetings, family. Greetings, and welcome to the Art of Rising. You know that we're always here on the lookout for great guests, and we just happened to find some that I've been hunting down for some time. So here they are, and if you stay to the end of the podcast, we have some wonderful discounts for you for our upcoming men's retreat. So let us know at that time. So welcome to the show, guys. Welcome.
Thank you. We're so honored to be here. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. We'd love for you guys to tell us your name and where do you live and what are you doing with yourself these days?
Leah, why don't you start?
Okay. My name is Leah Piper. I'm the founder of More Love Works and the co-founder of Sex Reimagined and the Sex Reimagined podcast. I live in Sacramento, California. And what are we up to? Will and I have a number of projects that we're excited about. I mean, first and foremost, we love podcasting together. We love gathering what we call sexperts, experts in the industry of sexuality, relationship consciousness, people who are authors, researchers, gurus, regular folk having extraordinary experiences.
Sex toy creators.
Yeah. And because we really want to reimagine what living a sexually positive lifestyle can be, because we know as all the different people are out there, there's lots of different lifestyle opportunities and choices and experiences, and we want to shine a light on sexuality being a part of living a healthy, wonderful, full human experience.
Absolutely. And I'm Dr. Willow Brown. I am the CEO of drwillowbrown.com and also the co-founder of More Love Works. And
Sex Reimagined.
I'm sorry. Yes, Sex Reimagined. More Love Works is Leah's domain, so check her out over there. But what I'm really excited about that we're putting together and that we're up to this year is a women's retreat on the island of Crete in Greece. And that is going to just be an absolute life-changing experience for us and for all of our participants. The more that I put it together and put together the content and the landing pages and the emails and all the pieces that go into a retreat like this, you know, the more excited I am for the transformation that's going to occur. Because when you take yourself out of your day-to-day life and you put yourself in a completely foreign country and land and place with a group of women. I mean, just getting together with a group of women alone next door is going to change your life. But going to Greece and just tuning in with the energy there and cultivating your sexual energy and bringing your Shakti energy, we call it, or sexual vitality to life in a place that is so rich and so pristine and so supportive of the divine feminine flow of life coming through you.
Yeah, we really see it as a pilgrimage. And that is a really sacred experience to take yourself consciously on a spiritual journey where you get to see just how powerful your personal sexual energy is, that it's not just something that we get off on. It's not just about having the biggest, greatest orgasms of your life. I mean, that's all great. But when you realize that it's actually life force energy, that it's the key to your vitality and it's the key to awakening greater health in your system, to have a life that has longevity to it, and that when you harness your sexual energy, it can affect positively all other sectors of your life, including what you do for a living, to how you raise your kids, to who you are in partnership, and how passionate you are with the things that bring you joy.
That's amazing. I mean, you just opened Pandora's box because I have all these things now coming out. Woo! But the women's retreat, yeah, there's lots of logistics that go on with the retreats. We just had our first men's international retreat in last year, 2024. Yeah.
Where were you guys?
We went to Dominican Republic.
Oh, nice.
We got the smoking place, like looking at the beach, over the beach. And we went to a national reserve, to waterfall. We went hiking. We did yoga. We went running. We went to the city of Santo Domingo. We ate great food. We smoked great cigars.
So good.
but there was lots of, tears also, and like deep
Yeah.
stuff
Yes.
went on. Oh
The
man, it was just,
transformation. Did
Yeah.
those
yeah.
men walk away just like
Oh,
totally?
Connected to
totally.
themselves.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've been doing retreats for a while. That was just our first international one, and the
Mhm.
one we having is local coming up. But I always think about that one guy. Where we were sitting around the campfire. We were just opening up, and this guy, he just let out this thing, man, and he was like, "My wife doesn't even know this."
Yeah.
And we looked at each
Ah,
other like he loves
yeah.
her and he has kids with her.
Right.
Wow,
Yeah.
but he felt comfortable and safe to share with
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man, it gives me chills.
it's that pattern interrupt, of getting out of your day-to-day life and going on a retreat. It actually is not just a reset for yourself, but it moves the trajectory of your life in a new direction.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful, and it's something that people think of often as a luxury. Oh, if I can afford it, it's a luxury. But really, I think of it as a necessity. Like
Yeah.
if we're going to be evolving, growing human beings, which I hope all of us want to be, then we need these pattern interrupts every so often, at least once a year, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I myself go through an experience like this brother did at your retreat, and when I've watched that happen to so many other countless people, it really is an inflection point. You are changed forevermore for opening that deep, for seeing yourself, for witnessing yourself, and the impact of other people witnessing you too, I think gives us faith and trust. It gives us faith in our own expansion and our own spiritual depth. And it's like you can't go back to the way things were, and that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. And then especially just unplugging from the matrix, man. You just like
Right.
we put the phones away and the computers, like that
Yes.
alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's incredible. But now you guys are going to the island of Crete, correct?
Yeah,
Which,
yeah. We'll be doing. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was
We'll
thinking
be.
about historically that like they say that Atlantis was right around there. So like, there has that energy vortex there,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, right
It's-
near Alexandria.
It's probably one of the most celebrated places of the goddess. The Minoan culture is really still very present and very held as sacred and very honored and revered. And so, that's what we really, the retreat that we're running is called Awakening the Goddess. So what we're really wanting to help women do is awaken their right to receptivity as a woman, to have, to the gifts that the universe is wanting to give them. So many women, so many people, but generally a lot of vulva owners will block the gifts that the universe is trying to give them. So opening even the receptive channels in your body through Qigong practices at sacred sites, and going to gorges where water is rushing and flowing through cavernous areas can open up Amrita in your body. Our bodies are synonymous to nature's body. They are one and the same. We're not just, as human beings, we're not just part of nature. We are nature itself. And so when we go to these amazing, incredible, inspiring places on the earth, we open places inside of us that have been blocked and have been keeping us from living the life that we want to be living.
Oh, I've been on a number of retreats myself, before I started doing them myself, because I saw how helpful they were, and we did some traveling, and we went to Egypt, and we ended up traveling around a bit, but we stood by the Great Pyramids, right, in a hotel right there, man. It was beautiful. But like we were there the first night, everybody was talking, energies up, and then people started talking about like spirituality and opening up, and I was like, I don't know about that stuff, I just don't feel some of those things. And they were like, oh, well, you might want to investigate it, brother. I was like, okay, cool. That night I had a dream.
Oh, really?
And the dream was from my ear, rocks started falling out like with a lot of wax.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yep. I got up, I was like, what? And then I tell you, ever since then, things started opening up for me, man.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I got to tell you, from a Taoist perspective,
Yeah.
the ears are the sense organ that the kidneys and the adrenals are attached to. So this is also where your sexual energy is stored, in the kidneys and the adrenals. And it's the yin. It's where the yin and the yang energy of your body alchemize. So very, very auspicious that these rocks, these blocks, right,
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
were like coming out of your cauldron of sexual chi and
Wow,
creative
that's
energy.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah,
What a great
beautiful,
story.
beautiful.
Love that.
So thank you so much. So now when somebody comes to you and they go like, hey, I need some help with some personal stuff, I mean, I'm trying to imagine, like, what would someone say? Hey, I feel blocked, like I'm not experiencing these things people are talking about, is that how it would work?
Yeah, I mean, people come to us for all different reasons. A lot of men will come to, heal erectile dysfunction or premature ejaculation issues. Sometimes men just come for pleasure. They just want to, or they might have recently come out of a divorce or a recent breakup, and they were with that person for over a decade, and they're like, who am I now? Like, I just need to rediscover myself and I need some help. And then women come to us often if they're having, issues around sexuality, sexual pain. A lot of women will come to me too for hormonal issues as well. So I can help them on really every level, the physical as well as the spiritual and emotional. And, the work that Leah's been doing with women for years is profound. It's this sacred spot massage work. And there's actually a place inside of the yoni, Sanskrit word for sacred spot or for sacred space. And so this sacred spot.
And it's for like the female genitalia. So it encompasses the vulva, the vagina, all the way back to the sacrum. It's an energetic chakra point. So it's not just the female sexual anatomy.
Vagina.
It's like
yoni.
the female sexual psychology.
Yeah, we're talking about the yoni here. The
Yeah.
yoni encompasses all of that, right hip to left hip, pubic bone to sacrum. So womb, fallopian tubes, ovaries, the whole thing is your sacred space. That's your yoni, not just your vaginal canal. But inside the vaginal canal, there's that G spot or urethral sponge, and along that there is a sacred spot. And so much profound healing happens from doing that sacred spot massage work.
Yeah.
When I think of some of these things coming up, especially when I was seeing like adult content coming up as a young man, they were always saying like, oh God, and I was like, why are they always saying that? But then as I got older and experienced things, I was like, oh, that's because for me, there's that connection with the higher
With
power.
spirit. Yeah.
Well,
that's strong of an energy.
And what's really cool now is that science has been able to map this by doing brain imagery work where they've taken people who are on a spiritual path. So think of like Taoist masters and meditators and other people that are of spiritual disciplines, people who pray a lot. And then they've done the same brain scanning of people in orgasm. And the place that lights up in the brain during spiritual practices is the same spot in the brain that lights up during orgasm. So the two go together. When you are in the world of climax and oh God, oh God, oh God is the most uttered phrase in climaxes, there's a reason. It lights up the same part of the brain. And nothing excites me more when science and spirituality validate each other. When you have these things that the ancient mystics have known for thousands of years, and now modern day science is validating it. I mean, it just makes all of our woo-woo work
valid.
Notorious.
I often get people come to me like, oh, did you hear the new? I'm like, well, I've been telling you that.
Right.
So, okay, yes, all right, fine.
Yeah.
But I also noticed, which something that fascinates me too, is like just at the point of ejaculation for myself, my mind goes blank.
Yes.
I call it the whiteout.
The whiteout.
I can't. I'm not in the moment. I'm not. It's just like I'm connected with the oneness. Like,
Well, it's interesting. In the Taoist tradition, they call it the tiny death. And even in French, it can be called la petite amor. So it's
Mhm.
Right.
tiny death. And there are 2 times in your life when you have no concept of being male or female, being, Omziel or being Willow. You have no
Yeah, and
concept
you're
of
not
ego.
identified.
You're
Mhm.
in the oneness. You're in that non-dualistic space, and it's when you die, and it's when you're having an orgasm.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
lengthening out, learning how to lengthen out those orgasmic moments and have longer and stronger and more fulfilling orgasms where your whole body feels like your cock or your yoni rather
right.
than just between your legs, then it completely gives you a deeper glimpse into the fact that we really are nothing and everything at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's when you start to realize that you can consciously affect having more mystical states of consciousness through pleasure, the whole world of pleasure and the meaning of pleasure starts to change. What falls where the belief systems that are connected to most of our conditioning that says sex is bad, dirty, that has like the essence of fear, shame, or guilt. And I think what's also interesting is they say that orgasm is the only shared universal moment of meditation that we all can experience. And when we go to meditate, meditating isn't meditation. Meditation is the state that occurs through meditating. And one way to be able to track what that is just to go back and remember your last orgasm, because it really is like a white out. You pass in. It's not a blackout. You're not passing out, but it's like you pass into the everything. And when you can learn to share that consciously with someone, when your passing in includes a partner, then your little mini death becomes their mini death. Your state of meditation becomes their state of meditation. When you get really sensitive as a lover, it's really beautiful to learn how to transmit your pleasure so your partner can take a sip. And those are freebies because, like many people have experienced, some people, multiple orgasms are easy. For other people, it's a real struggle. We can borrow from our partner's ability to experience ecstasy and therefore train our own body to expand its ability for ecstasy. And there are techniques for all of this, which is what Willow and I specialize in.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was thinking about that. For me, it's usually that preparation beforehand, like calming my mind, watching what I eat and make sure and then there's the stretching, like, all of this working up to it, sometimes it's just like an itch that I just want to scratch, but I noticed that those are just like superficial, man. They're like, you're just throwing it away.
Leah calls those a sneeze in the groin.
Yeah. It's kind of the difference between fast food and, fine cuisine. Now, look, I like a fast food French fry sometimes. I will happily admit. Sometimes a little fast food does the trick. But when you really want to cultivate your experiences to benefit you beyond just getting that moment of relief, that sneeze sneeze feels great, but it's short. It's brief.
It's a quickie.
We're
not throwing out the quickies. We're not telling you to stop having quickies.
but there is something really fabulous that happens when you treat your body like an instrument. Because you want to play music with the band. In order to play great music with the band, baby, you gotta practice your instrument. And we would call that white tantra in our practices. When you do your solo practices, when you get into connection with yourself, when you practice your pranayama, which is breathing, when you stretch your body so that you become more nimble and limber, so that you can have variety in your lovemaking positions. When you practice quieting your mind so you're not anxious about your sexual experiences, you feel confident, you're in your center, you are ready to be open and vulnerable and share all of you with a partner. These are the things that transform sex, regular just friction-based sex, into a prayer, so that you can evoke and invoke your experience of spirituality, however that fits your belief system. And so there's one Tantra Sutra that says something like, that this sex is this prayer between you, your partner, and God, so that God may know you and so that you may know God. It's a way of internalizing your experience to the divine, not just this thing that you might practice in meditation or practice in your church, but a lived experience in your body. So you have an embodied knowledge of this thing called awe, of this thing called grace, of this thing called, oh my God, did you feel that? Like,
Right,
what
right.
a ride we just went
Yeah.
on, you know?
Oh man, I've been
Yeah.
there. I've been there. Like the earth just moved. I know it did.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
Yeah.
oh my God. And those,
And
they're great. I'm
And that
sorry.
embodied knowledge, it eradicates fear, it eradicates doubt, it eradicates anxiety, the things that hold us back from the blessings that life has for us. So when we change our soma through sexual sacred practices and experiences, the rest of our life changes as well. I can't tell you how many clients we've worked with over the decades we've been doing this who have seen massive changes in their financial picture, in their health picture, in their relationship picture, in their home. Those different sectors of life all get
Up-leveled.
up-leveled, perfect word, to through this embodiment that happens, because you have to change at a cellular level. Your issues are stuck in your
In the
tissues, and we have to move them out of the tissues. We can't just do talk therapy for the prefrontal cortex of our mind. It's not enough.
It's not
Well
enough.
said. Yeah.
The sacredness of it, and that's the beautiful way, because many people are just stuck in that old way, the old hat of thinking, like Adam and Eve, the original sin. Oh, they were having sex. I'm like, what? But that doesn't even make sense, because they made us to have sex. Like, whoever made this body,
Yeah. I think they really enjoyed the sex. It was the apple that got them in trouble.
Exactly. But I often think about this part of your head. What do people call it? It's the temple. Why? Because you're in a temple.
Yeah.
And you're the god of your
That's
temple.
right.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
So
love
you should
that.
get to know your body. Thank you. You should get to know your body, and then your partner too, right? In some of our investigations, we found that men live a much longer, richer life when he's with a partner for a long period
That's
of
right.
time. There's so many benefits: more money, more energy, more health. Like,
Yeah.
I
It's so
think there
interesting
might
that you
be
bring that
some.
up.
I know. I think there's studies going on right now where women live longer if they're solo.
Right. That is interesting. Men live longer if they're married. Women live longer if they're solo. Men live longer if they are dads to daughters.
That
very
makes
interesting.
sense.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
So
And then I also want to mention about, like, when you meet someone and you have like a one night affair, and they go, wow, that was great. And then there's other times they go, oh man, that was just a waste. He's no good, or she's no good. And then again, in some of what I've read, that there's no such thing as like a great lover. There's a such thing as great partners. Where they're open together to experience and connect on a deeper level. What do you guys say about that?
Well, that's interesting. I read this book that I just love. It's called The Erotic Mind, and this psychologist studied. He took a look at people's peak sexual experiences, right? The nights they had the hottest sex. Like the biggest, most amazing, most memorable experiences in their sex lives. And he was like, what was happening? Why is it that sex can be so great with this experience, but be lackluster in another experience? So he was looking for patterns. And then additionally, he was looking at the stories of, what do people masturbate to? What do they get off on? It's like, this is my go-to fantasy when I'm just self-pleasuring myself. What's happening in those fantasies? Why is it that those lead to an orgasmic release? And so by looking at, and what he was very surprised to see the same 4 patterns in both studies. And the patterns were an obstacle, something you have to overcome. There's something rewarding about overcoming an obstacle that gives you a big payoff. And those 4 obstacles, so every single one of these experiences or fantasies had one or more of these 4 criteria. Longing. You have to overcome longing. Oh, the beloved finally got home from being away for 6 months overseas, right? Or I finally found the beloved. Or the person I've had a crush on finally fucked me. Like whatever the longing is, overcoming longing. Another one is taboos. So it's the forbidden. It's that affair. It was that one night stand. It's the naughty. It's doing something you shouldn't do that made that experience so hot, according to whatever rules you are believing or live by, or your culture says, or your family says, or whatever. So then there's taboos. Then it's power dynamics. There is some, any romance novel on the market is filled with power dynamics, right? It is the Highlander and the princess that gets stolen. It's the pirate and there's always a kidnapping involved.
Right.
Why does that turn us on so much? Well, let me tell you, I'm a big fan of romance and erotica, and it's a big turn on. Like, it makes sense to me that, like, having to have this thing, somebody ravishing you, someone having power over you, can lead to like major pleasure, even if it goes against our belief systems.
Especially,
there's something about, if we can learn how to consciously cultivate these things in the bedroom through consent, we could really cultivate artistically, looking at our sex life and really having more pleasure. I really feel like sex is the playground for adults that sometimes we abandon when because we make life so serious. Okay, the last one, which I think is very interesting and surprising, is ambiguity. Sometimes we have to get over ambiguity. Sometimes we let all these other things in our life be more important than our sex life. Like getting the laundry done and making the list for the groceries and, obviously having to put the kids to bed and all these things, right? Finishing that romance novel. All those things we can put in front of sex, because sometimes sex comes to us and it feels like work. And so why we already work so hard, like one more thing we have to get done to feel like a success in our life. And then sex becomes a drag. And when we feel like a failure at sex, like we have a hard time climaxing, or we have a hard time getting hard, or it's like we still have all this resentment towards our partner that hasn't been dealt with, and we just can't feel that feeling of openness, then like there's ambiguity that happens. And so we have to learn, how do we resolve that ambiguity? Sometimes it's, for a lot of people that are dating, well, I mean, yeah, he's kind of cute, but I don't know, I'm not really into him. But then suddenly you get this opportunity to actually move beyond that. I don't even know if I'm really into him. And then you finally let yourself be into him, and you really love it. But the reason why we create ambiguity and block it is because we're afraid of getting hurt. With great sex requires vulnerability. And it's like, we don't always want to put our tenderness on the line. So we make it seem like it doesn't matter, or I don't need it, or it's not that important. And that's the lie we tell ourselves. But if we can learn to go, oh, that's just a sign of protection. Okay, let me put that aside and let me take a risk. Because when we take risks, studies show that our life satisfaction scores increase exponentially. So we got to do hard things. We need to take risks. And why not do it in a sector of life that rewards us with tremendous pleasure and joy? Sex, baby.
Right. I love it. I love all this information. Like, it's so powerful. And then I remember seeing an interview with a porn star, and they asked her, like, how could you have sex with so many men? And she said, you know what? I focus on one thing that I like about them.
Good
just
tip.
the one thing, just the one. That's it. And I focus on that right there.
Yeah.
But talk to me about that power dynamics, because that is a strong one right there. Because when you think of sex like in a primal environment, like, it's about power. It could be quite aggressive too. Like, it's a violent almost act of entering a woman, and with this thrusting, like that. But
it can be. When we're doing more sacred sexual practices, tantric practices, a lot of times we will teach people how to separate the roles of giver and receiver. So instead of, because so often we learn to have sex like, okay, let's just get our bodies together and bump and grind and see what happens, and we both are at it, and I can't even feel myself because I'm trying to make sure that you're happy, and so there's a lot of disconnect that happens in those scenarios. But when you separate the roles of giver and receiver, then as the receiver, your only job is to receive the sensation that you're feeling in your own body. So it opens up all these new pathways of pleasure. And as the giver, you learn, wow, if I'm giving in a way where I'm actually being totally present to the sensations in my body, I'm totally receiving through that giving. It's so pleasurable to give when you have that deep level of presence. So, and if we take it into a more profane sexual area, sacred area of sexuality, playing with the role BDSM and sub and dom, and, you get down on your knees and crawl around, and someone kind of telling you what to do and stick your ass in the air. I mean, there's something really, you find out something even deeper about yourself than just in the receiving role. So there's so many different levels and layers that we can play with as far as these power dynamics. And, some people who've maybe are into role playing or who have been together for years, sometimes with couples where, they've been together for so long and they're like, what else can we do? It's like, we'll do some dynamics, play some roles, like, the police officer and the woman getting pulled over. I don't know, whatever, like you want to come up with and play with, it's like, it gets you out of the normal. That's what we want to do. And that's what Sex Reimagined podcast is all about. Like, let's reimagine what is possible. So we've got a lot of sexperts on our podcast who do talk about these power dynamics from a more BDSM perspective. And we've got lots who talk about it from a tantric perspective. So it really is, it's important, I think, when you're on a sexual evolution journey to meet yourself where you're at and to not have expectations or to push yourself too far too fast, because you could definitely blow a fuse. So it's like, it's little by little. Meet yourself where you're at, and you're shaking your head, Omziel.
Yeah,
that could be a good thing. That could be a good thing. Blow a fuse.
Right.
And so there's so many layers that you can explore as you get more and more comfortable with the exploration of your own body and your own sexuality. For some people, even just touching their own bodies is a big step. So
right. And then I would imagine, no, go ahead, Leah.
Well, I was just going to say, one episode comes to mind with G.S. Youngblood, and he really talked about the dark masculine. And it's a part of the masculine that's missing that I think women are craving. And there's been so much confusion, right? Like, I think the Me Too movement, as important as it was for so many reasons, it's had a backlash in that men are more timid, they're more afraid, they're overly cautious in some ways. And so I think for a lot of female desire, we're hungry to have a little more oomph. Like, I want to be taken, I want to be ravished, I want you to take risks, I want you to dominate me and to make me feel like I'm being claimed by you. And it's not that we want to be owned everywhere else in our life, but damn it, own me in the bedroom, toss me around, pull my hair, bring me to my knees in a way that makes me quiver, shiver, and is dripping wet. So that's also a skill. And none of us are taught
totally.
these
Yeah,
things,
I have to agree.
Some people, maybe it comes a little natural, but for the rest of us, we're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I feel, we're so afraid of looking dumb that we really do need teachers, people who look at this as an art form.
Right.
And when you can take a look at your sexuality as something that you practice and that you get better and better at, then it becomes fun. And even if you're like playing with some of the dark masculine parts of your essence, it's not something that you have to hold all the time. It's just a part of you that you allow to be free. From a place of how you play with yourself and how you express yourself. And we have so many different parts of our essence that we can bring to the table and untap. And I think that's kind of like the key. It's not about being abusive. It's about playing with transgressive elements that really open your partner. If you notice that something is closing your partner, that's a clue to go, oh, well, that doesn't work. So you're looking for, how do I unlock them? How do I help them open? How do I help them like surrender and deepen into their own essence? And there are clues, right? So there are things that you can watch just by observing body language. That will give you information about what's working for your partner and what's not.
Yeah, learning how to read people's energy is very helpful in life in general, very, very helpful in sexuality, for sure.
Right. That's great. It's the upbringing too, right? This indoctrination into this thing called Life,
100%.
and what's
Yeah.
his name? Don Miguel Ruiz, right?
Yeah.
He talks about that we're domesticated like dogs.
Right.
And that's a hard reality. Like some people are like,
Yeah.
why? Oh no, not me. Like, yeah, you too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like you were born into this. They tell us what our food is, what our dance, what our clothes is, who's our
Mhm.
God, what
Mhm.
Yeah.
temple we go to. Like we don't question it.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
especially in coupledom. Like we become so domesticated in our partnerships
Mm.
because there's a part of us that is looking for security. Right? Like we come into partnership many times because we're looking for security. We want the one. We want a place to feel safe. We want a place we call home. So that's like oftentimes a motivating factor to that we use for commitment. And then suddenly 10 years later, we're like, God, I'm bored. You know, because domestication, baby, it is boring. Okay. And even security, as lovely as it is, and I will never trade it for anything. I love the security of my marriage. It's boring, you know, but here's the thing, you don't have to settle for boring.
Right.
Take that trust that you have with this partner and now use these other skills. Go on an adventure together to learn things, to spice it up, to make it more interesting, and to untap your feral. You know, let's find our feral soul in all of this and set our domestication for where it's most valuable in our partnership. And then let's have a big bedroom where we get to be feral again. You know what I mean?
I just thought of a name for our next program: "Fucking the Feral One to Freedom."
No, man, I'm making some
there.
hats and T-shirts right after this. Right?
That's our next podcast episode or
Right.
program. Something. I don't know.
You know, and then there's I would imagine that the point of it is not really always to reach the orgasm, right?
True.
It's there's deeper things going on, right? Because there's the sensuality of it on both sides, right?
Yep.
Because we
Yeah.
had an opportunity to go to Peru and we went to Lake Titicaca. And then some of the people that were there in the village, we noticed the men were walking holding hands. And for me, I was like, that's how we should be. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, man. Like, hey, you're my brother. Let's go, you know. But that's some of the things that we try to teach on the men's retreats too. You know,
I
it's like,
love that.
hey, it's all right, bro. Like, you cry, come on here. You know, it's all right, man. Just let it go, bro.
I love that. Love that
And
you're
it helps them.
the men's retreats. That's so powerful. If you ever want me and Leah to come to one of your men's retreats,
Of course.
teach
Yeah,
them-
I'm about to
teach
go to
them.
yours over there in Crete. Hello. I'm just here. I'm a lady. I'm a little masculine. I know.
I love that. I know we should be more affectionate. We should be more demonstrative with our care and our loving. And I'm really glad you brought this up because it's one of the first things that I teach in any of my programs is we're going to talk and give you skills to have, yes, greater, better orgasms than everyone you know. Congratulations. But the point of this, the point of Tantra is not how to have better orgasms. The point is to experience more love, to awaken to more love. And what I mean by that is that there are more important places to visit. There are more important places to go than coming. Sometimes through that experience of deep intimacy, where in your nakedness, you are revealing the deepest parts of your soul. And through that, you've got so much love pouring into you from the outside that it finally gives you a chance to take a deep breath and let go of whatever isn't love that is stuck in your system. And that gives you an opportunity to unburden the blocks that are being held in your system because of that trauma, because of that crisis, and you had to be strong because your mom died and all your siblings were counting on you, you know, because of that rape you had at 21, you know, whatever the story is. When we're handling a crisis in our life, we can't be so present that we can feel every emotion that's happening at the time because we have to survive it. So our system is so intelligent, it knows where to store the burdens so that we can get through. And when you start to practice conscious sexuality, this byproduct happens where you have the opportunity to come face to face with what you need to finish feeling so that you can experience true liberation, so that you can be free to attract all these other amazing things into your life that are just waiting to step through that threshold, but you have this block in the way. And so through sounding and through breathing and through eye contact and through safety, you have a chance to move that blocked, unmetabolized emotions from the past And then you've got all the space now. You had that tear, you had that primal scream. You had the courage to be real, to feel the fear of, I think I'm ugly and I don't want anyone to find out. And to touch that and to feel it and then to let it go in a sob. Man, when that frees itself, all this space exists. You've cleaned out the basements, and now here's this opportunity to be filled with love. And it changes you forevermore.
And then to be connected with God too. Like it just brings you to your higher power, whatever that it's a spiritual thing. Man.
Yeah. Because love is a spiritual, mystical experience.
Right.
Everyone who falls in love, remember like the first 6 months of falling in love, man, there's no better feeling. That's such a mystical experience. Our best self is brought out. And now we just have to remember to like, oh yeah, let's return back to that feeling. Let's return back to that version of Leah who's in love.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the root of everything is love. Like if we have any emotion about anything at all, it means we care about it to a degree that we would have an emotion about it. So if we're angry at someone, if we're frustrated, if we're irritated, it's because we care. It's because there's love underneath those other emotions. So, everything is rooted in love. So can we find our way back to that? Turn back toward love and choose love over fear and frustration and irritability and anxiety.
Right. I love that. I love that. All right. Now let's get into the toys, man. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. So, 'cause I got all these things like, what kind of toys and, sizes and timing and locations and please.
Yeah. Well, we just interviewed Leah, you probably will remember his name, who made the cock ring that wraps
Dr.
around.
Justin or Dr. Elliot Justin.
Yeah, he has a great cock ring on the market. Not only does it wrap, you don't have to fit it over your penis the way you do other cock rings. You wrap it around the base and it has like a little hook, and it's this incredible material. He sent us some and they're just so amazing to play with. And one of them actually you can sleep with, and it monitors how many erections you get throughout the night, which relates to your cardiovascular health. So you actually get to know your heart through your cock while you're sleeping with this cock ring. I mean, there's so many cool things on the market these days. For the ladies, I absolutely love the V-Fit. It's by Joy Lux, and it is an infrared light that it's a vibrator that has infrared. And so when you go in and you use their photonic gel, when you use that, it actually heals the tissue lining. So it's really good for perimenopause and to menopausal women, and increases ATP production in the vagina, as well as elasticity in the tissues, and brings more fluid to that area, more circulation. So those are a couple great ones.
And you might have to cut this part out. I've got the landscapers are here, so they keep on making a lot of racket.
Okay.
So I just wanted to add a little bit more to what Dr. Willow was saying. I really love sex toys that are helping bring blood to the genital tissue, both for men and women. Women have as much erectile tissue, inch for inch and ounce for ounce, as men. So if you can imagine an erect penis, now imagine that every vulva owner also has an erect penis. Ours is just organized differently. So things like vulva pumps and vibrators help bring fresh oxygenated blood to the vaginal tissue, and that's going to help her get off easier. There's also 2 areas in the vagina that are filled with erectile tissue: the perineum sponge, which is a little sponge that is inside the perineum that the hypogastric nerve runs through, and then the G-spot, which is connected to the pelvic nerve. So when you can start to, with either hands or toys, manipulate these areas on the inside of the vagina, women are going to learn how to have vaginal orgasms much quicker than like through penetrative sex. Penises can't reach these sponges as effectively as toys or fingers. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing that I would like to see come on the market for men more is vibrating toys, because women's venous health, meaning the veins that bring the blood to the tissue, is more robust than male venous health. So at the age of 30, men lose their erectile function. I think it's by 10% every decade. So what's interesting about this cock ring that myfirmtech.com has created with Dr. Elliot Justin is through being able to study one's nocturnal erections, you can then see how's your health. And it's not that men's performance declines just with the erections. It's really the refractory period. So the refractory period is that space between your last orgasm and your next erection. And when men who are struggling with erectile dysfunction, what's happening with most of them is that they can get hard, but they can't stay hard. And that has to do with venous, am I saying it right, Willow? Venous. Leakage. So that's why cock rings are so effective. When you can use a cock ring, that blood is going to stay in the cock so that his performance can be better. So what ends up happening...
And he can feel more.
He can feel more, he stays harder longer, and his climaxes are more intense. So I think the cock ring is a very affordable product that you can find online and in every sex store that I think is really something all men should invest in.
I think we even have a discount code for it. So if we'll send that over to you, Omziel. You can put it in the show notes.
Please. We're going to put in the show notes, all of this, everything, of course.
And then who was we just had a really great Dr. Som Rakshit.
Yes. He was wonderful.
So check out his episode on Sex Reimagined podcast. He used to be, he was creating like military devices. And so he's used the technology that he was using way back then to create vibrators and phenomenal beyond vibrators, like really incredible sexual health things. One of the things he's working on right now is a device for mastitis. And there is no device on the market for mastitis. It's a huge problem for breastfeeding women. But he's also got a slew, I think he's got 6 or 7 on the market, incredible vibrators. And the texture and the quality of the material is like no other product on the line that I've seen.
Yeah, I would just add that like he's trying to solve problems in the medical world. So people with vaginal pain, people who are having problems, like a lot of men actually have a hard time reaching climax. They're having a hard time actually having ejaculations. It's like they get stuck somewhere along the journey. And so, he's got these different prostate devices and really, he's doing really amazing work.
Yeah, you'll love his episode. He talks more eloquently than we do.
Much needed. Wow. So what about, because you mentioned something about the medical field, right? So now you have like Cialis and other, Viagra and these type of thing. What is your take on some of these things?
Great question.
Go for it, Leah.
Okay, we have to reference another episode. Dr. Ann Trung.
Oh, amazing.
She's working with stem cells. She really enlightened us because she's really against the pharmaceutical erection medication because she believes that it gets men on a crutch and it actually makes the problem worse over time versus actually treating the problem to begin with. One of the things that's been really successful in her practice is the use of penis pumps and the use of stem cells to help men who are struggling with erectile function have a return to their erections again. She also is a big fan of using cock rings. So she's got a number of interventions. Another one that's really great are some of the lasers. Now, there's different types, and she really talks about this on the episode. I'm less versed in the languaging of all of it, but I can tell you this much, is that it works with sound waves. And what it's doing is it's building collagen in the tissue and helping those veins get stronger. And I'm not sure the full science on it other than it works with sound waves. And there are different lasers. There's basically 2 different ones. One is less effective than the other. And this is not as helpful when I can't remember the language of all of it.
It's okay. It's Dr. Ann Trung, Trung. Uong. She's this really incredible Chinese doctor. She's not a Chinese doctor. She's a medical doctor, but she's a Chinese woman. She's just super smart. She has a book out too that is really, really a fantastic book that you all should check out. If you go to her website, you can find that. And
she's got a podcast too.
She's got a podcast. She's great. I was actually just texting with her yesterday because I'm getting into peptides right now. And, peptides are helping people lose weight. They're helping people with inflammation in their joints, brain fog, helping people build muscle. That we all are kind of heading toward metabolic dysfunction as we age, as we get illnesses, as we are stressed, as mold toxicity comes to us, all these different reasons that our metabolic function starts to shut down and we don't assimilate and digest life as well as we could. Our bodies are not working as well. So the peptides are really stepping into the medical field and helping people to reset their systems. But the dosage is what's so crucial, because some of these peptides that you will find like in Ozempic or some of the bigger brand names, they're overdosing, and that's going to cause even more down regulation of those receptor sites on the cells. So I don't want to get too far into that, but I was texting with Dr. Ann yesterday about peptides because I want to share with her what I'm learning and talk to her more about what she knows about them, because there are peptides for sexual function straight up for that. So
I when you say peptides, I think of some like a plant medicine, which is the combo, which comes from the frog.
The combo has
peptides, and it's like that.
Yeah.
It's the reboot of
I didn't
your
know that. That is really
system.
cool.
Yes,
I had no idea combo had peptides associated
It works
with
on the peptides, because people go, "Oh, it's a poison to you," but no, it works on the peptides.
It works on the peptides.
Like, no wonder I did combo once, and I'm like, I never felt so good. I felt so purified. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, we naturally create peptides in our bodies, but it's just like hormones. As we age, we create less of them. So we want to just give ourselves a little leg up, a little boost. I think of them as like jumper cables, to get your body functioning well again.
Yes, and we're reaching the time now, but how about other things such as I want to say plant medicine, but there's other things that are like synthesized in the lab. There's like people think of like MDMA.
Yeah.
Like, wow, it's great. And I have a friend that works with that, and he's like, look, it's not like you think it is, bro. This is more of getting to know your partner like on a deep emotional level. There's lots of petting and like, oh
my God. Sex on MDMA. I don't know if there's anything better, to be honest with you.
MDMA, that particular medicine really opens up the heart. So there's
other parts.
Yeah. Well, for some men cannot get hard on it.
No, but
right.
Just,
that's what he told
body.
me. He said he couldn't.
A lot of men can't. But
he said other things are going on. He's like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a love bomb for sure.
You really get to you get into a more nuanced sensation.
Yeah.
And,
your
and
senses come alive.
He mixes it with the sound too, because you mentioned about sound too.
Yeah,
nice.
Totally.
Yeah.
Music has never seemed so beautiful. Your body ends up being in rhythm with the music. You're sweating to the music. Like there's something, all the senses are at peak response. So the soulful opportunity there. And Tantra has a rich history of using sacraments for holy experiences. And so it's not just about taking drugs. I think a lot of people have probably tripped on Molly or have had MDA or MDMA and gone to raves. I mean, that was the generation of my generation, was going to raves and partying, doing a bunch of fun drugs. But to do them within sexuality, again, it's about having intention and seeing it as an experience of, I want my body to be a prayer. I want this act of love and bringing our bodies together to be a prayer to our God. I mean, it just becomes mystical, and there's something that you can't explain when it comes to mystical. It's just beautiful. It's like it's like living heaven right here on earth.
And all humans should experience that. Yeah. Some people, they live their whole life and they don't experience something. I'm like, what? No, you got nothing to lose. Like,
you got it. It's in your body. It's all connected. You just have to light it up, turn it on.
Those receptors, they're just waiting. They're like, whoever made us to take these things. They fit like a perfect lock and key. All right, well, guys, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure we could keep going for another hour, but we all got some things to do.
Yeah,
And
lovely to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thank
oh
you
my
for
God, I
having
love
us.
your energy
Yeah.
and all that. And we're gonna leave all that information, down below. That way people can reach out to you.
Great.
And if they need any help or looking for that retreat too, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, we'll be there
Come
for
to
them.
Greece.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell my wife about it for sure.
Yay,
Okay.
we would love to
Okay.
have her.
So I'm just gonna put you backstage for a moment and close up right here. Don't move.
Sure.
Okay. There you have it, guys. Wow, that was woo-wee, beautiful, man. I'm sure everybody learned at least one or two or three things from that one. So until the next one, but in the men's retreat, we want to help you out with 10% off that ticket that's coming up. It's on May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. So just reach out to me and just say sex reimagined. That will be the code word. Okay.